Hey guys, welcome to my channel. We are reading Open Book by Jessica Simpson. In the last chapter, I really did enjoy it. Go watch the video before this. It's really interesting how you get to know somebody with all their writing, you know. I definitely recommend reading this book on your own as well. Yeah, it's fantastic. Or even listening to the video I'm making. But yeah, we're on chapter 3 called Saved by Failure. And that was in spring 1991. So this is going to be a longer chapter. So get some snacks or whatever and listen up. Alright, chapter 3, Saved by Failure. Spring 1993. I once was lost, but now I'm found. We all sang in unison. Was blind, but now I see. There were 700 kids that last day of church camp, all from different schools in Texas. I was a 7th grader, 12, and I had tagged along to so many church camps with vacation Bible schools as a preacher's daughter, and I was excited to be with kids and believers my own age. One of the best parts of being one of the best parts of every church camp stay was when we sang together. People who were once strangers sang hymns that felt like they were written for just that shared moment. We were in a huge church as we paused between the chorus of Amazing Grace. The pastor spoke on the mic. There's somebody here that's going to use their voice to change the world, he says. They will use their voice to minister to others. We continued, and then I heard it, my mom's voice. How precious did that grace appear, I sang. The hour I felt believed. I had spent years trying to describe the feeling, and I still have trouble. I felt a light upon me, and then the certainty of a calling. It's my voice, I thought. And because I was 12, I added, he is totally talking about me. I realized I was walking from down the aisle, and the only person doing so. I felt wrapped in purpose. You have to understand how rare it was to just have one believer swept up at camp. Sometimes peer pressure or the need for attention can make the front of the group a popular space. I reached the pastor just as we finished the song with, "And grace will lead us home." He invited everyone to do silent prayer and looked at me. He just heard myself sing, I whispered, and I think that's the voice that God wants me to use. Let's pray, he said. I felt like God had delivered me to myself, and I decided right there to give myself over to the ministry. I walked back right past my friends and went straight to the payphone to call my dad at church. By then, Dad had been the youth minister for 2 years at the Heights Baptist Church in Richardson, and suburb of Dallas. We left Burleson after I finished 3rd grade, then did a year at the church in Dukinville, which brought us closer to Dallas. But now my father has his dream job. It was a mega church, so his salary doubled to $60,000, and being a pastor there was like being a rock star. Mom still taught aerobics and did as much work as my dad. With all kinds of charity outreach, I dialed Dad at work, and the church secretary answered. "Hi, it's Jessica," I blurted out. "Can I talk to my dad? It's really important." "Hold on, Jess," she said. I looked back at all the kids. A girl came up, waiting for the phone. I could tell she was shy, and being with someone who was tempted always made me less. So, at lunch, I had started sitting with kids at school who sat alone. I wish that I felt sorry for them. I was grateful for the company. It's like when we're in line for a roller coaster and you find out your friend is even more scared than you. And you both feel stronger by joining hands. "I like your sneakers," I told her. "Thanks," she said, smiling. She looked down at them as my dad came to the phone. "Jessica," he said, "what's wrong?" I felt a finger to her to say, "Hold on." "God called me into the ministry, Dad." "No," he said, "no, no, no." He said it so loud the girl heard him through the phone. Her eyes widened. "I know. I said. I had grown up hearing about the politics of church in Richardson. We built up the youth group, but we did it by hosting dances and having cool events like lock-in sleepovers. Dad had studied to be an adolescent therapist, and his practice at church didn't treat kids like sinners. He encouraged self-care and communication with parents, which had proven effective. But some of the church elders still preferred the brimstone. He fought the battle so the kids didn't have to, I guess, and he wanted something different for me. Jessica, you should think about this, he said. There are ways to be of service without. I turned towards the payphone for privacy. Well, I don't think I'm gonna be a music minister or anything, I said, but I know now I'm supposed to use my voice and change the world. Well, talk about it when you get home, he said, but I'm really proud of... I gotta go. Someone's waiting, I said. I smiled at the girl and hung up. I was called, I told her as I walked away. I made a call just now to my dad, but I was called. She laughed, so I laughed, and it felt good. God is going to use my voice. It was weird because I never really knew that I had a good singing voice. I just liked to sing. I'd sung solos in church since I was younger, and the one I remembered loving most was His Eyes in the Sparrow. My mom had started to enter me into vocal competitions the year before, but I thought that was just because Beth Beeler, who ran the dance studio where Ashley and I took lessons, could tell I was miserable dancing. I would go to competitions in the whole new outfit and come in 7th, and it just didn't seem worth it. Beth was probably tired of trying to hide me in the corpse when I wanted to stand out. One day I had been crying, trying to get on point, and Beth turned to my mother, Tina. They have all these vocal competitions when we do the dance competition, she said loud so I could hear her. Here. Maybe she could do both. I fell to the ground and gripped my poor toes. Or just, she added, sing. I looked at my mom and nodded, wiping away the tear. That's a great idea. She could really shine, my mom said. So the summer going to 6th grade, I did my first vocal competition going to San Marcos, Texas to sing The Rose. In the big purple dress with giant sleeves, I won. And we kept on entering around the region, and I kept winning. Mom and I would go thrift shopping for stage outfits. Then she started buying clothes at Dillard's and leaving the tags in so she could return them. I know how that sounds, but she was trying to make me happy, and we couldn't really afford all those outfits. I've met my share of stage moms in my career, and she was not one of them. She pushed me to the excellence of whatever I chose to do, but she didn't tell me what to do. 2 weeks after my Amazing Grace moment at camp, my mom was at church when one of her girlfriends, Cindy Calves, came up to her with a cutout of Dallas Morning News. Jessica, really talented, and you should take her to this, she said. The producer of the all-new Mickey Mouse Club had placed ads around the country looking for new talent for its 3rd season. There would be an open call audition at the Dallas Height of the following week. Mom knew Ashley and I watched it all the time, singing and dancing along the Carrie Russell and J.C. Chaz on screen, and the Musketeers. The show was a weekly after-school Disney Channel variety show with comedy skits and kid-friendly versions of popular songs. The producers specialized in finding talented kids who were also relatable, which was why they held up call auditions for 50,000 kids around the country instead of just in Los Angeles, where kids got agents in kindergarten. My mom brought the ad to Beth at the dance studio to see if she thought it was legit. Well, why don't you take everyone? Asked Beth. Everyone should have a chance. Beth and my mom drove the whole dance troupe to the auditions. It looked to me like a couple thousand kids had shown up. We were in line for 4 hours. And everyone got a Mickey Mouse t-shirt, which I still have today, thank you. As I approached the table of casting agents, they started talking about me. Cindy Crawford, one said. Young Cindy Crawford, said another. Cindy was 26 at the time. I knew I had to sing, and I chose Amazing Grace because it was comfortable for me. Then they just randomly played music, and you were supposed to dance around. The song was Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby. So I can only imagine how I looked at the end of the day. Only 10 people were invited back for the second day of auditions, and I was one of them. Matt Casella, the head casting director, told me I had real promise. My mom kept saying, "Do you believe it?" And I did. And I wasn't that I was stuck up. It was that God told me to use my voice, and here I was. The next morning I went in for the callback, and this time they took video of me. At the end they kept just 3 of us from Dallas. A boy named George, a girl named Audrey, and me. Matt Calista told us that they were holding a casting camp in Orlando in a month. The sort of entertainment boot camp. It's going to be 2 weeks in Disney World, he said. We'll fly your family out there and put you up. We'll see if you make the cut. There's just one thing, Jessica, one of the agents added. You need to work on your acting. We're going to send you to Chuck Norris. Yes, the Chuck Norris look. I was 12. For 4 years, I told people I went to the Chuck Norris acting school. Honestly, it was probably just some school he was affiliated with, since he shot Walker, Texas Ranger, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. My mom dropped me off at Chuck Norris, and it felt like I was the only kid in class. I think that's why I was given David Joyner as my scene partner. He was nearly 20 years older than me, but he had recently landed a gig playing Barney, the dinosaur on PBS. Chuck Norris was there as intense of chest puffed as you're picturing. I couldn't wait for my mom to come back for me. The first day, Chuck didn't say much to me, but the next time I went, he had some notes. He stopped me in the middle of my one-on-one with him. You have too much expression, he said, as he trained his eyes on me in the squint. Do you know who the most powerful actor in the world is? I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say Chuck Norris. Diesel Washington, he said. Oh, I said. Oh, he said Diesel Washington. Oh, I said. Every person in the room nodded in agreement, which is what people did whenever Chuck spoke. Do you know why? He asked. This time he didn't wait for me to answer. He just turned and grabbed a green roll of Scotch tape. Diesel can say anything without making his moving his eyebrows, he said. So Jessica, I'd like you to try something. He pulled out a long strand of tape and stuck it across my eyebrows to tape them down right. Okay, let's do the scene again, he said. Now, anybody who's seen me sing or even tell a joke knows I have facial expressions to Jim Carrey. That tape was working overtime. I can't remember what the scene was, but everyone acted like this was very normal, and Chuck Norris method. For then on, I had to do all my scenes with eyebrows taped down. I already hated going, but now I really did. It wasn't torture, it was just embarrassing. I don't want to go in there, I said in the parking lot on the third visit, sinking down so nobody could see me crying in the front seat of our minivan. You have to, my mom said. If you want to do this thing, you have to go in there and do these classes. She had to drag me out of that minivan in tears, but that third time was the last time. I don't want to make a big deal about it, and I wish Chuck Norris and Barney the best, but I will say the experience ruined every single Diesel movie I've ever seen since. I watched his eyebrows the whole time, waiting for them to move. When my family flew to Orlando for the casting camp, there was no question that we would also pull Ashley out of school for the 2 weeks. Our family was a package deal. The first event was a pool party for the finalists. I'm sure we were already wide-eyed for the opulence of the Disney industry party. But the very first two people I saw were Kiri and JC for the show. So I about died right there. It was the first time I'd ever seen stars in real life. I watched them meet people and do the dance of I know you know who I am, but I am going to introduce myself to you anyway. They were already pros. There was one boy running around the pool completely on like he knew the audition finals had already started. He kept doing backflips into the pool, totally grabbing everyone's attention. He eventually came over to where I was standing. Hi. What the heck? Hi, I'm Justin Timberlake, he said. The meme's accent stronger than it is now. Right away, another boy appeared. He was there with his mom, all the way from Canada. I liked Ryan Gosling very much. I decided he was definitely the cutest there. Then there was Christina Aguilera, this timid, frankly kind and mousy girl in class from Pittsburgh. She was known for singing the Star-Spangled Banner before the Penguins and Pirates game, and had the local reputation as a little girl who with the big voice. Her mother had tried to get her on the show when she was 10. The casting director, Matt Castellan, said she had to wait. He kept in touch with her because she was so talented. She was just so tiny that I didn't really get how she could possibly get on television. The parents were all hanging around, trading stories about their kids that already done the show business. My mother gravitated to Lynn Harless, Justin's mom, who was so sweet. She had a whole portfolio about Justin, with studio headshots and photos from pageants and talent shows. He just did Star Search, said Lynn. Wow, said my mom. Well, what's Jessica done? She asked in her Tennessee twang, because she's so beautiful. My portfolio was a manila folder my mom brought. Well, here's her school picture and a Polaroid. I'm surprised she didn't have my report card. You can see her B+ in English. The casting agent had said to bring headshot, and a Polaroid was of my head, so we were just so green. Everyone at Disney was sweet and helpful and booked time for me at the photo studio so I could get an actual headshot by a photographer. Give him this, a casting agent said, handing me a headshot of Cindy Crawford posing with her hair swept over at the side. This is the look you want. When I got there, I was definitely different from Olin Mills. The photographer had Pacific poses in mind, none of which made sense to me. Okay, now look off into nowhere, he said. I did, trying to look thoughtful and enjoy it. I smiled. I looked crazy. The main direction of the day was smile bigger. At one point, he handed me a huge fake flower, just comically big. This is the biggest flower I have ever seen, I thought. How is this going to land me in the deal of Mickey Mouse Club? Smile bigger. Now I know how to get through photo shoots because I know every angle they need. I do this super weird thing for my friends where I just slightly move my face to do a speed round of each red carpet pose and photo shoot I've done. The big smile, eyes up and then down, my Mona Lisa, the chin down, lips parted, and oh hi, my friend screams because I look like a robot model shorting out. But let me tell you, it makes it easy on the photographers. Once I had my new photos, we Musketeers wannabes went into the 2 weeks of bonding and learning as we prepared for the final auditions. There was a music class, lessons from the vocal coach, from the all-new Mickey Mouse Club, And I worked with an acting coach who didn't tape my eyebrows down. I mentioned that, and people thought I was joking. I liked getting that laugh. Ashley was in entertainer mode, too, coming along to do cartwheels for the talent agent. Come back in 4 years, they told her. Justin and Ryan were huge flirts, and I was the girl they focused on. Ryan was my first hard crush. He tried so hard to sound tough, a voice like Marlon Brando, but with this squeaky clean face. He did that same thing he does in movies. He leans forward like you're drawing him in. He lowers his chin and then opens his eyes to look up at you. I don't know what old movie he saw that move in, but it stuck. I was in love. Before anybody knew how hot Ryan Gosling was going to become, I had a vision. There were 11 of us, and the term top 8 became a holy grail. Throughout my time at camp, my parents kept hearing, she's going to make it. She's our top 8. At one point, Matt Casella came up to me and my parents. Jessica, it looks really positive. He said, I can't tell you 100%, but you all need to start looking for an apartment in Orlando. It was one thing for my parents to think I had talent, but these professionals were now telling them their daughter had potential to be a star. That night, I overheard my parents talking quietly about what that would mean. There was Ashley. They would just uproot her. And what about my dad's job? They'd get a Mickey Mouse Club paycheck, but not enough for everybody to live on. The final day came, and I wore an outfit my mom and I put together from the $5 rack at the discount store. I had a blouse-style derby hat, a denim jacket, and a tie with pigs on it. Remember, my cousin Sarah loved pigs, so I loved pigs. It all made sense in 1993. The finals were held on the actual Star Search stage of the Disney Hollywood Studios Theater. Christina came in, ready to go on right before me, and I almost didn't recognize her. One of the casting people had taken her to the mall for the full makeover and contact lenses. She still seemed so little, but Disney had done a full Cinderella on her. And then another girl walked into the theater. She had these big, beautiful eyes, brown like mine. I heard her talk, and she was Southern like me. I heard an "oh my goodness" come out of her, and I knew she had to be Baptist core girl too. She had such a familiar look. Nobody else in the competition had looked like me. And here was this last minute. "Hi, Brittany," said Matt, the casting director. "Hello, sir," she said, and he laughed. My mom got the lowdown from another parent. Britney Spears had first tried out when she was 8, and Matt had said she was too young, but hooked her up with an agent. She had missed the camp because she was appearing in a play in New York, off-Broadway. Someone empathized to my mom, though neither of us knew what that meant. All I knew was that I seemed like less of a shoo-in that I had 10 minutes before. Christina was slated to go on the right head of me, and they put me in the green room so I could watch her on the monitor. Not out of competition, but because we'd really all become close. We were pulling for each other, and I did a little yay clap, watching her cross to the center of the stage. And then this sweet little girl opened her mouth. She was so extraordinary that we all, even my parents, gasped. I knew she was good, but she must have been holding back slightly all week and knew this was the time to go for it. The visual just didn't match what I was hearing. "How was that even possible?" whispered my mother. My nerves started setting in. I had to follow that. Just typing this is, I am like, here we go. Cue the crash. I blocked out some details, so bear with me. I sang my 2 songs, Amy Grant's "Good For Me, Baby" and Christian song by Crystal Lewis, and I did it fine. But singing is where I should have been able to play to my strengths. As I was beating myself up about that, I just froze. My choreography was completely off, and then I couldn't remember lines from my monologue. I stared at the camera and knew I'd blown it completely. The theater was silent. "Thank you," I said, trying not to cry. I walked off the stage and tried not even to look at Justin. Oh, was I about to go on? "Oh," Justin said, his eyes so wide, his mouth open like a slack-jawed cartoon. "What did you just do?" I started the tears. Oh, I cried. I cried like heaven sobs. My parents came to me, asking again and again, "What happened? What happened?" All those questions and scenarios they had gamed out about me being musketeer. Do we all just move to Florida? Do we have homeschool me and Ashley? All of what was gone because I choked. I crashed down to earth, landing right on top of them. When Brittany got out there and did her full-on, out-of-the-box dance routine like a machine, I knew it was over for me. They told us all that the higher-ups would look at the videos and make the final selection. We would get a letter in a few weeks. I had grown so close to these people, and I thought we were all going to be on the adventure together. My family were all so deflated on the way to the airport. We were caught between the world where I was a regular kid and one where we were in a show business. I had missed this opportunity that could bring an end to all the family fights about money and keep the peace for good. I sat with my mom on the plane, and finally she was able to see past her own disappointment and try to make me feel better. "Jessica, you have to know something," she said. "You're gonna have to face this again." I whimpered. "No, I have a really strong feeling that you're going to see these girls again," she said. "Somewhere down the road, you're gonna cross paths again, so you better get ready." She was right, and I would also see Justin and Ryan again. This story is strictly for the Musketeer Clubhouse diehards, but Justin and I met up years later after my divorce. We were both single, and we got to talking about the old times, leaning more and more into each other until suddenly we shared a nostalgic kiss. As soon as the kiss was over, he pulled away and got out his phone. "I gotta call Gosling," he said. "What?" "We made a bet of casting camp," he said. "Who was gonna kiss you first? I win." Wow, that's so messed up. That is so messed up. Oh my gosh, that is so messed up. Well then, tell Ryan you won big, I said as he dialed, 'cause the odds were definitely in his favor. Back home in Texas, the kids I told about the casting camp couldn't understand why I didn't know yet if I was was on the show. People, especially girls, kept asking leading questions and showed that they thought I'd made the whole thing up. Things people said would remind me of Something Sweet, Christina said, or a song Justin danced to, and I would miss my new friends all over again. "They're going to send a letter," I told people. "They said it would take a few weeks. We'll see." The girl smirked. Every day I came home from school and checked the mail like I'd spell out help on the deserted aisle. I felt marooned, still stuck between being a regular kid and being someone on TV. On a Saturday afternoon, my family and I went to see a métis of My Father and the Hero with Katharina Heel. We looked alike, and I leaned back into my seat. I watched her, and I put myself into her life. One of the acting coaches from the camp talked about the importance of the choices. So I followed the character during the movie, but also Catherine. Why had she lifted her chin when she laughed? Was that her or her character? I wanted to be in the movies, so be that big, important on the screen. We came home, and I knew the letter would be there. I just felt like it was time. I admit, I thought every day, too. So I am not that psych, but Wasn't surprised to see skinny little envelope from Disney. Certain it would be rejection. I still had the hope to pray, though. I opened it up in front of my parents in the living room. It was a no. I started crying as soon as I realized. I handed it to my mother and ran to my room. As I remember, the letter amounted to not you. But here's the thing. It was a nice letter. I only know because I just now called my mom and knew she would still have it. It was addressed to us. First of all, Jessica, she said. It said, your daughter has a ton of talent. She's amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. I know we're going to see you again someday. I had to sit with that for a moment. For another 20 years. I just remembered we don't want you. Well, everyone got in but me and other people. One other person. I said, Jess, that's not true. It was just me that got cut. Honey, no, she said. They were choosing 8, but instead they chose 7. She paused, realizing that I messed up my final audition so bad that they lowered the final head count to 7 to exclude me. You were gonna be the 8. There was 12 of y'all there, so 5 people didn't make it. We got the letter. Something shifted in me. The afternoon I had imagined what it would be like to be on the screen, big in front, and now I shrunk from it. I never wanted to sing again, not if I could lead to me feeling the forsaken. I cried for days. I know people say things like, I cried for days, and you kind of think, well, what? Deja, really? Well, I can assure you, I cried for days. I cried eating cereal, I cried peeing, I cried praying at church. The sense of loss and missed opportunity was suffocating. It scared my parents, but they differed on what to do next. Every parent thinks their kid has a gift, or at least they should, but Matt Casla's words stayed with them. I had talent. I had been so close. What if I got that close again? And I don't know. Didn't blow it? My mother acted like we touched a flame, and now we knew better. She didn't know what we could handle, something that devastating again. My father, on the other hand, was mesmerized by the flame. They had told him his daughter was a star, and it was his responsibility to make that happen for me. And yes, for us. They had huge fights about it when they thought I couldn't hear them, when my father would start in on some new plan to launch me, saying maybe he should call one of his casting agents or look into getting me my own agent. She would stop him. That summer, I was in the bathroom staring at my reflection so long in the mirror, they probably forgot I was even home. Dad's new idea was that he'd found a pastor named Buster Sawyers, who had started a gospel record label. Dad was planning a vacation Bible school in the Destin area in Florida. He would invite him as a speaker and then have me perform. It's gonna happen now, my father said. This is it. Why can't she just be a regular girl? My mom yelled. Tina, she can be a regular girl, he yelled. She can be that girl. She can be that girl and be a star. I came out of the bathroom. I want to do it. My dad grinned, but my mom just said, are you sure? I nodded. I want to be that girl. My parents looked for the vocal coach in the area, and my dad took me to Linda Spetton, a former opera singer with Texas twang. Linda was blonde and just gave off an air of being well-to-do and professional. Even through her place sat at the end of the strip mall at the edge of Dallas. She asked me to talk about myself, and I looked at my dad, who ran through the whole tragedy of Mickey Mouse Club audition. She asked me to sing, so I did Amazing Grace. You have a beautiful voice, she said. She told me. You just got squelched, and you have to get past it, she told me. I seemed shy, and that I sang churchy. Linda saw the potential there. If I worked on getting more control on my vocal cords As we worked together, she tested my octave range by having me sing notes. Notes go on a scale of 1 to 8, and I learned that I have a vocal range spanning from 4.5 to octaves. Is that good? I asked. Well, Mariah is a 5, she said. You could do lower notes like me, but go even further up the scale to the highest notes. That was why I couldn't do the high-pitched whistle she did when she sang along to Emotions. Linda gave me the confidence I needed when I tried to impress Buster Sawyers at the church camp my dad organized for the summer. Rev. Dr. DeForest B. Sawyers was stately, if little flashy, lead pastor of one of the largest African American congregations in New Jersey. Most important to my dad, he was starting a small gospel record label, Proclaim Records. He was there to discuss one of his favorite subjects, teen abstinence. And I was there to sing as an intro to warm up the crowd. I chose I Will Always Love You, telling the crowd it was about true love waiting. Afterwards, Buster came over to me. You remind me of Nippy, he said. Nippy, I said, looking at the splotch of gray on his top of his otherwise jet black hair. Whitney Houston, he said. He told me he knew her when she was around my age, and that he would slip into her church at Newark during choir rehearsal just to hear Nippy sing. I admitted to him that was why I chose that song, because my dad had told me he was friends with her family. He smiled, and right there that day he signed me to the label. Dad and I went up to New Jersey to go to the recording studio he booked, only to find that his plan was for me to record, with a full gospel corps crammed into room. We seemed to be just as surprised to see me I was to see them. Like, who is this little girl? We recorded an absolute Amsel song that I gave my all to. Because now everything seemed like an audition. I was not going to blow it. The song was God Says Wait. And it was about, guess what? Not having sex. I will spare you the lyrics, but it was basically a call of arm's length love. Buster got me gigs on the gospel current when the travel got tough, or I seemed too nervous to sleep. I would drink some NyQuil. I realized it knocked me out when I was sick, so I took it when I was healthy too. Then I started taking Tylenol PM. It was a godsend after years of lying awake with fears of being alone. I took each pill like it was magic potion because it freed me. I was able to sleep in my own bed or a bed on the road without needing Ashley. I didn't think I was dependent. In fact, those pills actually helped me feeling independent. Near the end of the summer, Buster wanted me to come back to New Jersey to record. The core thing did not go over very well with the crowds, and I was really interested in doing solo stuff anyway. My mother wanted me to take a break and just focus on school for a bit. Just to be an 8th grader, she said. Try being a cheerleader. But cheerleading, they said, it will be fun, they said. Alrighty, that is the end of chapter 3, guys. I will see you guys in chapter 4 in the next video.